Well, welcome everyone to Ideas That Matter. Um, this is brought to you by the Marcia Forest Center and Inclusion Press. And Kathy can't be on today. She's the chair of the Marcia Forest Center, but she does want to send her greetings and hope you enjoy this center. All right, so we've got Ideas That Matter, and today we have the privilege of spending some time with Tim Corey, who is an absolutely masterful graphic recorder, graphic facilitator who has been um, working with pens, paper, and iPads for quite a while, for some decades now. And as a result, he's been instrumental in developing and promoting the deeply rooted work of person-centered planning throughout the Northwest in the States and all over the place. And he keeps coming back to his deep roots of working with people with disabilities and ensuring that they are or have the opportunity to be fully included as citizens in the community. And essentially to do that, he's been building bridges across communities, across nations. And today we get to explore with Tim some of his own remarkable work with the Coast Salish people, which is one of the many bridges he has invested a lot of his talent in building bridges with them. And I think it's sort of terribly fitting that on this Juneteenth day, which is the day that acknowledges the formal legislative end of slavery, which legally ended, and a lot of the deep-seated hurt remains. The work that Tim has been doing is about that deep-seated. So it's a good day to acknowledge Juneteenth and this work with other peoples who have been enslaved differently and continue the journey towards full participation, full freedom in the community. So thanks for agreeing to do that with us, Tim. So over to you, Linda.
I want to add my welcome and let you know that we are here. The registrations have been from 5 countries, and if I see it correctly, we had registrations from Australia, New Zealand, India, Canada, and the US. And it looks to me like we have New Zealand in the house. Yes, Janelle. Oh my goodness. It's stupid o'clock for you. Thank you for being with us. But we're here from 16 states in the US and 5 provinces in Canada. And we just really wanted to be able to center and take a breath together and just kind of bring ourselves home. And we really invite you to just be here now. And if you would, just rest your hands gently on your lap, become fully present, just close your eyes and sit comfortably with your feet on the floor and your spine straight. Relax your whole body. And we want to invite you to take 3 deep breaths, each with its own intention. Breathing in and breathing out a long, slow exhale. The first breath is to be centered in your body and present in this space. Breathing in and exhale. Take a second breath in and breathe out a long, slow exhale with the intention that you're aware of those you're with and extend your energy to include them. Breathing in and exhale. And the third breath, breathing in and breathing out, is being open to what's possible. And we invite you to lean into the question, what would it be like to have a little more ease and bring the intention of curiosity into this conversation? Thanks, everyone. It is my complete pleasure to turn this over to you, Tim. And we're just really looking forward to the conversations and being with one another. Thank you for this offering.
Thanks, Linda, and thanks, Jack, for your kind words. And I have to add that today's my late father's 100th birthday. He was born June 19th, 1924 in Los Angeles, California. And it's very fitting that I'm here with you because the origins of my work are really from my parents, as most of our gifts and strengths are, and our weaknesses, right? And Dad was a sociology, humanities teacher, and he taught me the value of listening, deep listening. I had him as a teacher, and it was discussion class, and he said, "Tim, some people don't know how to share openly, and others have no trouble with that." And he said, "You know what group you belong to, so your grade's going to be based on how well you listen." And so I think I've carried that, taken that gift he gave me early on seriously. And as Jack said, been in this field for many. Actually, I've been in the field of developmental disabilities for about 40 years, and then found John O'Brien, Marcia, and others, and learned about person-centered planning and just fell in love. And it really is my home, and it's moved into other communities. As you can see, I have no control over my slides. It's on a timer, and I don't want to mess with those, so bear with me here. But I'd like to open with a poem, and it's a poem from my friend Patrick Theu that lived and worked with Coast Salish people. And it really exemplifies the idea of inclusion for me. And it's really grounded in this idea of community and what community means to people and what we can do about strengthening community. And we'll come back to this. There'll be a video that includes this quote, this poem, but I'd like to open with it. We have much in common with the salmon. All our best beginnings were tiny and fragile and built upon the sacrifices of others. Like the salmon, we were born in different places, different streams, with a power within that pushed us to grow and search for the deeper waters. All of us are different in shape and color and are seeking deeper water for food and life. The little streams took us to larger rivers where we found ourselves thrashing in the shallows and on the surface where we are most clumsy and vulnerable. Where fear, mistrust, manipulation tear at the water, there are none of us without scars or parts missing. It's only in the deeper water that we find our companions swimming alongside us. The journey is full of dangers. It requires everything in us to get back to the place where we began. But the deeper water is where the swimming is smoother, where there is room for everyone. And that's really why this project came to be. It was helping the service system in Washington State in the U.S. really understand, get a window into people from the Coast Salish communities, and for Coast Salish families to know that there are services available. And so we decided to bring the 6 values, guiding values of developed by DDA in 1988, the state organization that supports people with disabilities, and bring them in and build stories of Coast Salish families and try to pair them together. And so what you're going to experience today will be hearing a story and then experiencing an animated video about a value. As you can see, the area that I'm talking about, the Swinomish tribe is here, and the Lummi Nation is about here, and that's where the families that we're gonna hear from live. Have been there since time immemorial for thousands and thousands of years, and it's a very interesting place. It's the Salish Sea. It's called Puget Sound by the English, by the colonizers, but it's been reclaimed as the Salish Sea about 10 years ago, and it's being widely adopted. It's the official place name of this area. And so they're people of the sea, they're canoe nations. And it was really important, really, for the larger community to understand their neighbors living alongside them. So with this agenda that we've outlined, it's going to be an opportunity for you to have conversation with one another. So the bulk of the time is going to be in small group, and it's intended to really get you into a deeper conversation about what you're noticing in the videos. So the bulk of our time is going to be in small group, and what we're going to do is we'll queue up uh, uh, two videos. So one video is a story, and then we'll queue up the animated video, and then we'll have you come back, and then after you've had conversation, we'll have you in the breakout groups, and then we'll do another series where we'll have you view another set of videos, and then another set, and then we'll have time for large group conversations. So what I encourage you to do is, if you're so inclined, write down a few keywords or key images that come to you. So when you're in your small group, you can have a dialogue about them. And what people have been telling us is that the dialogues have been really meaningful to them. So I hope you have that experience, and we'll be moving you from one group to the next. We're going to open with Muriel and Laura's story about caregiving, and then we're going to move into a video about relationships. And then we're going to have you in your breakup groups, and then you'll come back and we'll do the next series. So these are the 6 videos, actually 7 videos that we'll look at today. So with that,
my name is Laura Porter. I'm an enrolled member of Swinomish. This is my sister Muriel. I'm Muriel's primary caretaker. I have 4 beautiful children, 2 grandchildren. Muriel, before my eyes are even open, she's hollering for me. She's my alarm clock. Wake up, get her changed, get her dressed, do her hygiene, set her up, get her feeding tube on, the steps that are required for that, give her drink, and then whatever little tidying up or restocking I need to do for her. We got a pretty good system down now. She's very sensitive to people's feelings, to energy. She knows when something is up. Like if anybody's angry around her or upset, she does not like it. She senses us when she's connected with us. We always tease her that she's got ESP. Like there's times where she's asking for Sarah, and within like seconds, Sarah's calling me. If my dad's thinking about her, she hollers for my dad just before he calls. She's starting to do that with all of us. I stepped in after we lost my mom in 2017, but just to help my dad, because my dad's health was fairly good yet. He was still really strong. But I moved in to my mom and dad's house after we lost my mom just to help him keep things moving. But I took over full-time care when COVID hit, when we went into our very first lockdown. I moved home with her, and we've been here since. It was very challenging for me to become a home care aide. I really felt like I needed to fend for myself. I couldn't ask anybody. The state process was lengthy. It's confusing, especially if it's your first time and you have no idea what you're looking at. There's agencies out there like Sunrise Home Care Agency. We have Cascade Connections, I believe, in Ferndale. They're not tribal, but they do provide home care services for people like Muriel. However, that added a layer of confusion because the state got my application and it just got messy. And they're like, wait a minute, are you with Cascade Connections? I'm like, no, I'm a community applicant, meaning that I don't work for them, but I provide home care services. And it just went in circles for a long time. And like, I took the class, I paid the fee, you have my application, my background. They're like, oh, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to start this all over again. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to. I shouldn't have to start this whole process again. But I finally got it resolved. Because of her health needs, she's very well established in the clinic, in contract health, and in Medicare, Medicaid. When I do have to go to the hospital, they pull everything up right there. And so there's really not a lot that I need to look for. They're like, oh, okay, I see Muriel. I've never seen a card, a Medicare card or Medicaid card. So her healthcare needs so far have been very streamlined. They have all of their information they need right at their fingertips when I bring her in. They treat me as the next of kin. In prior years, it was really difficult to get her wheelchair and her basic equipment needs met, even through tribal health. I don't know why it was so complicated, but it was really complicated. It took me a year to get a wheelchair right after we lost our mom. It was really just got kicked back and forth. Who's gonna pay for what? Does she really need this? And I was just amazed because I'm like, she's confined to it. It's not like she has any other choice. But since we got Dr. Lane at the clinic, this last wheelchair that she got, it was so easy and fast. We had it within a couple of weeks, a few weeks. They helped us get her wheelchair and a bed, a hospital bed, which really helps with her comfort at night, because I'm able to adjust her now, and I think it really helps her because she's definitely sleeping better. For most of the day, it's just us, and today's a good day for her.
Like the connection between humans, trees are connected in many ways. Think about a time you visited an old-growth forest. The rich oxygen that fills your lungs, the coolness of the air, the quiet stillness pervading every corner of the forest. When you look into the dense grove around you, you notice the interconnection of trees, from their roots, along the trunks, and into the understory. Let's acknowledge the unbelievably complex ecology that counts on and builds up the trees. The mycorrhizal network in the soil, the creatures, all of our relatives who draw their life and livelihood, all together creating a wonder we can participate in if our eyes and hearts and spinal nerves are open and in contact. We know that trees communicate with each other. Their root network is interconnected like the neural pathways found in the human brain. When one tree is stressed, the other trees sense this and aid them, providing nutrients that bring health and connection with the forest network of living things. Like trees in a forest, humans are finely tuned to sense the feelings of others. If we are fortunate, we have healthy relationships that nurture our lives. At times, there are difficult relationships that cause stress and confusion. All connections are here to teach us something. Take a moment to pause and notice where you stand in the forest. What is at the base near your feet? Are you standing on solid ground? Or does it feel uneven and insecure? Are there people standing near who support you unconditionally? Or do the relationships feel disconnected? Perhaps it's a combination of both. Look into the understory. Do you see gray skies or dappled sunlight streaming through the trees? How we perceive the world and the people around us can influence the types of relationships we have in our lives. Do we gravitate towards people who are supportive and lift us up? Or do we maintain relationships that end up tearing us down? When life is hard, it can be difficult to tell the difference. As relationships grow stronger, you may encounter a deep sense of satisfaction. Like a grove of trees, we grow stronger when we are supported through difficult life chapters. Our difficulties are hidden gifts that help our communities become stronger. If we allow our family and friends to help us through difficult times, the root stock of our culture is nourished and strengthened by the adversity we face together. The forest is where we can go and be silent in nature, to be bathed in a truly awesome environment that is both humbling and inspiring. Through its silence, forest can help us find healing. It will speak to us through its sights, sounds, and smells. Here are a few things to consider as we open ourselves to the support of others. Know where you come from. Know your language, culture, and life ways. People grounded in their culture tend to be stronger and healthier. Seek the support of others. It's okay to ask for help. Allowing others to help you brings out the best in them as well. Seek to understand the life experiences of others by listening to what they have to say. When we open ourselves, we provide space for relationships to form. Show up and participate in activities that interest you. Spending time around shared interests is a way to have fun and develop lasting friendships. Once you have established relationships, stretch yourself to share your hopes and dreams for the future with people you trust. Doing so will invite others to share their hopes and dreams. When we do this, our circle of support is activated and strengthened. There is always some form of risk when we share with others from our heart. But if you pause for a moment and think about it, living from your heart is the only way to live in the world. It is the source of our relationship with all living things, past, present, and future. As you look up into the canopy of the forest, take a moment to reflect and offer gratitude for the people who have supported you. An elder once said, "The best way to hug a tree is to put your back against its large trunk. Let the nerve endings of your spine mesh with the energy emanating from the tree." Close your eyes and experience the wisdom of the forest and what it can teach you about the connections between all living things.
Kind of in your small groups, what we want you to do is to just in general, what did you notice in the two videos? What resonated with you? Where was the resonance? Maybe some dissonance as well. And there's no need to do a report out or anything when we move into the next series, but just have that deep conversation. Gather your thoughts as you go, and then at the end of our time, we'll have some time set aside to share your thoughts to the larger group. So kind of with that, we're going to go into a group for about 15 minutes. And Linda, how many people are in each group?
There are 3 in each group.
Okay. Yeah, to give you time to be in conversation. So, and then we'll have another series and we'll have a new group. So, all right.
Fun. Welcome back, everyone.
Hopefully the conversation was good for you. And just making those connections between the two videos. And the values videos can be interchanged, really. They can look at any story from the perspective of relationships or status and contribution. so on and so forth. We have two more videos now, Clifford and his mom, Leanne. We're going to hear a little bit about Clifford and his experience. And then I've paired up the guiding value of status and contribution. And so kind of in this set, what we want you to do is we're going to have you explore some questions. You know, what have you learned about the role status and contribution play in Coast Salish communities? And what are the similarities and differences with your own culture? So those are just two examples of things that you can explore in your inquiry, and then just some general thoughts of things that are important to you. So here, I'll cue these up, and then we'll go into the small groups.
Hey, how you doing? Good. I never seen you for a while. Yeah, it's been a while. Well, do you remember?
Do you have the audio? Is the audio
And,
okay?
this is on.
It's okay. It's a little more muted, Tim, than the previous one was.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just see you.
Better.
No, it's just when Kevin.
It's a little bit quieter.
Down syndrome.
Here we go.
My name
Is that better?
Leanna, and I'm Clifford Green's mother. We spent the first 3 months of his life at Seattle Children's Hospital. We learned a lot about what it meant to have a child with Down syndrome in those first 3 months. I just firmly believe that Down syndrome individuals are sent to their families to teach them because they need them in their lives. He's had lots of support within the community. Like even the months and months and months that we were at Children's Hospital, yes, we seen the bill, but we didn't pay that bill. So Let Me Tribal Health covered all of his medical costs at Children's Hospital. We've had a very good support system. Very early on, my sister and brother-in-law quite often have Clifford with them, and they would go to the winter powwows. And he would sit with them and he would watch what was going on and listen to the songs, and the early exposure to what our ancestors practiced and the song and the dance is so important.
My name is Clifford Green. I'm from Ghana by Levy Initials. I use song and dance, something new songs, like sharing good thoughts. Feels good, very humble, and I just like feeling happy and like dancing.
We have had in the past, Clifford Green and Sarah Thomas be a part of the Blackhawks, which they still are, even though they're not there all the time. They participated on that, and they have that extra more pixie dust that they put upon the people that lifts the people up so much. How the Blackhawks interact with special needs students, if they're in that class at that moment, they're receiving whatever any student's receiving in terms of culture, songs and dance. All the participations from all of that, they're part of it.
Just the singing brings, whether it's everybody out singing, it brings that sense of peace. And that drum beat gives them that sense of, this is my heartbeat. I think that we need to recognize that differently abled children still have gifts and talents. I just think about the work that we need to do with our children as far as finding those gifts and talents so that they can share that piece of who they are with their community so that they feel worthwhile. That's what we want, right? We want them to all feel worthwhile. So it's allowing them that time to grow and the community supporting that and not trying to push in on them, but to allow them to be and just to be a part of the community, the family, the group.
His paddle vest is made specially for him. We designed it, but because trisomy 21 is the triplication of the 21st chromosome, his paddle vest has 3 rows of 21 paddles on the back. And I know it's quite heavy, but we wanted it to be special because that's what we want to do. That's what we've been doing as much as we can, advocating for him, advocating for inclusion and acceptance. And it's been, I mean, everyone has accepted him. He's danced with the Blackhawks, but he also acknowledges his ties to Black Finnish singers and dancers and the West Shore group. We have family relations to all of the Canoe families, so he's dances with them all. He's had literally all but 2 drums gifted to him in his life because people have seen him participating. We've been like at other gatherings too, where it's just very candid and he's meeting somebody new and he's talking to them, and then they'll come to me and they'll say, wow, he's really knowledgeable about who he is and who he comes from. It gives me hope for the future and for our youth, because there's so many of our youth out there participating and they're proud to be who they are.
I think I am my best man. My only one option.
Imagine a large room where people gather as a community to celebrate. There is singing, drumming, and dancing to acknowledge and honor the contributions of individuals and families. The cooks have prepared a meal, the fire started and stoked to keep the sacred place warm. The rising wood smoke illuminates shafts of light from the sun. This is a place to sit quietly and listen, give silent gratitude to the many hands and hearts that made this experience possible. Simple acts of service are what weave the social fabric of our community together. When everyone contributes their part, the community benefits. Being of service to others is one of the highest forms of love and respect a person can offer to their community. In what ways have you served others? Gathering as a community is an act of profound importance as it reinforces the kinship ties handed to us by our ancestors. We have been given many gifts from the Creator: a beautiful place to live, abundant food, and the permission to express our life ways through ceremonies that keep us together as one people. Above all else, it's essential to show respect for all the gifts we've been given. When we serve others, we humbly offer ourselves without expecting recognition. In doing a task, we are fulfilled because it helps others. It aids in our belonging to something bigger than ourselves. Here are some things to consider. Follow the path of where your interests and community needs intersect. This is a place where learning and meaningful contribution can occur. Your skills, talents, and energy make a difference in your community and make the world better. Consider it an investment in your community. Be unconditional in your support of others. Seek to approach them in a spirit of reciprocity. Our efforts can help us build a sense of community spirit. This ensures that knowledge is passed down from generation to generation to help us maintain our life ways. Seek ways to lift people in your community, especially when facing difficult times. Our empathy and respect can bring them much needed support that may improve their quality of life in ways only known to them. Your positive words may be the only positive comments someone has heard for a long time. Encourage gifts and talents that your community needs. Together, we are better. Collective effort creates goodwill and establishes a reservoir of trust. There could be difficult situations can help reduce uncertainty and confusion, allowing us to focus our energy on finding solutions. Don't wait for others to ask. Seek to identify and understand the pressing issues of your community. You may meet others who are doing the same. Use your time and energy to seek solutions for the benefit of your community.
There are many sacred cultural treasures we need to protect and preserve. Our willingness to open our hearts and serve unconditionally is one of the greatest gifts we have as a people. It is the spiritual salve that allows our wounded planet the ability to heal itself. Let us stand firmly on the ground, lift our voices to the heavens, and sing in unison.
So thank you for viewing those together, those videos. And what we'd like you to do now is to move into your second group and have a conversation about what you've noticed. And Linda will put up the queue, the questions that I shared with you earlier. And
Yeah, Tim, and those are in the chat now.
okay, that's
As we
great.
chatted about, the groups are in large part the same as they were, right? And there's one more round of conversation and we'll switch the folks up then. Yes.
That sounds good.
And I've set it for 12 minutes.
Great.
Okay, thanks.
Welcome back, everybody. We're gonna do the next series, and are we gonna move to different rooms or the same? What do you?
No, I'm going to work on that now.
Okay, and we're gonna watch the last two, and it's Bella, Keith, and baby Carrie, and it's the experience of having a child who is just been diagnosed with some things, and they're having to deal with the system right away and get those supports. And I purposefully paired the competence video, and that's a value that we live by of helping people, get their needs met in community. I often describe competence as, if you can't tie your shoes, you get Velcro shoes or you get slip-ons, right? You adapt and you make it so that you're able to do those things that you want. And the story that will come after Bella and Keith, the animated story, is really geared towards their experience about what it means to be a parent and the work that they do ahead of time to prepare and just notice the assumptions they make about their son. It's really, really interesting. They don't even question him at all. And so with that, I'll queue up this next video, and then we'll see the two and then go into breakouts. The last.
We're here at Seattle Children's Hospital. We are here for our son Carrie's surgery today. That's when they figured out that he had craniofacial microzonia.
He's getting a G-tube feeding tube. He has a hard time kind of swallowing any food, so they recommended just full-on tubes through the feed.
He's back there right now. He's going to be back there for about an hour and 45 minutes, and then once he starts waking up, one of us will get to go back there, and we won't get to use the G-tube for about 6 hours, so they said he's going to be a little fussy and probably really tired today just from being under an anesthesia. Hello, my respected people. My name is Isabella James, and I come from Lummi. My traditional name is Quincia. My partner is Keith Jefferson, and my two children, Connor Jefferson, who's 4, and then I have an 8-month-old. His name is Carrie Jefferson. He just had his G-tube surgery. It was really nice for us to have that transition to have the G-tube.
Now that the tube's not in his throat, it seems like he could kind of breathe a little bit better. He seems a lot more happier, even though he might be in a little pain or tenderness in his stomach, but he's doing really well now.
Keith's family is always really helpful, and I'm really unfortunate and glad that they're here for us, because if they weren't, then it would just be me and Keith.
My dad, my stepmom have been helping out. They both work quite often, but they lend a hand as much as they can with just taking Connor while we have to go to appointments, or even just going over to their house so that we can just relax on the couch, and they will take care of both the kids while we're there. Even just cooking a meal for us, it's quite nice. We got some help from our housing here in Lummi. We moved into Chelangan Village back in November, which is a clean and sober gated community. It seems like they bring people in that had trauma in their life, either with abuse or drugs or alcohol from their parents or whatnot. They bring people in to show them what it's like living on your own and with a clean space. They talk about how it's for the kids, so we're breaking a cycle from all that trauma that has happened many generations. They say it takes a village to raise a child, and really understand that now.
My job at Children of the Setting Sun is kind of what my support is. Just being able to work with me when I'm able to bring my son on appointments and stuff. They're really flexible with helping me with that, and they're really supportive through this whole journey that we've been on with Carrie, and I'm really thankful for that, because there's so many things that I'm still learning, and they say the Creator gave him to you for a reason, and that you're able to handle whatever it is that he's dealing with in his life, and that his journey is our journey too. So even though there's days that we do, but I just think this was going to be a good opportunity for people to have and to hold on to.
The tall cedar gives itself up to the community. Everything it has is used to benefit others. The carver carefully studies its form, notices the patterns that emerge, and lovingly shapes what become useful items and works of art that reaffirm our culture. The tree spirits are an abundant connector between the sky and the earth. As our grandparents, they have something to teach us about how we raise our children. When we become parents, we are given the responsibility and opportunity to care for our children. In the beginning, it can be overwhelming. There is so much to learn, and our biggest fears may surface. Will my child be healthy and happy? Will I be a good parent? The weight of the responsibility is heavy, but a sense of pure joy breaks through when we realize this little spirit needs our unconditional love. There are no manuals or step-by-step instructions. This tiny spirit with so much promise is a gift to our family and community. We have been entrusted to answer the call as a steward of this wondrous life. If we are fortunate, we have our grandparents, parents, and extended family to help us understand how to walk the path of parenthood. We now understand our connection with our parents as a sacred, trusted relationship. Whether our grandparents, parents, or other key people are living or past, their wisdom, insight, and energy can help us know what is right and true. As we grow into parenthood, we gain confidence that our children will survive despite our fears. We will see their gifts and wonder how they know specific things without being shown. They'll make comments from a place we cannot fully understand. In a sense, the process of letting go of our children as they become adults starts the day they are born. In these moments, we are invited into the awareness that something bigger is afoot in creation. There is a simple truth. Children don't belong to us. They belong to the world. The ancestors support the teachings that each child brings into this world. Each spirit that comes to our family is cradled in the warm embrace of the Creator and all the ancestors that call them by name. What an awesome responsibility to care for our children, and what a gift it is to have the opportunity to offer our guidance and love. Our commitment helps the world move another step towards wholeness. Perhaps our efforts are more significant than anything we can imagine, with a deeper and more profound love than any life experience. Humor can help us break through difficult situations. It reminds us not to take ourselves too seriously. Laughter enhances your intake of oxygen-rich air, stimulates your heart, lungs, and muscles, and increases the endorphins released by your brain. Seek out activities that make you laugh. It could be what you need to shift your mind to a positive mindset. Set a good example for others by learning to do things that make your life better. Break unhealthy habits and adopt behaviors that help you be whole. The important people in your life may notice you, and without knowing it, the changes you initiate may help them see that they can behave differently. From the book June19, Living Wisdom from Coast Salish Elders, we close with words from Elder Jean Harry. Friends and relatives, this earth who is our mother, like everyone, has a story of creation. These beautiful, beautiful trees represent our mother, our ancestors, where we come from. Stories say the Creator made everything that flies first in the world. Then he created everything that comes from the mountain, the four-legged, the insects. Then he created everything that belongs in the sea. Then he created a community of people. Picking up some beautiful red powder from a giant cedar tree, he sang a song, as our songs go in prayer, and he blew in the palms of his hands, and that dust settled. One of those stars touched that dust, and that cedar dust settled, and there was the first chief. He did the same thing. The cedar dust dropped, and there were our elders. He did the same thing, and there was the family of children, mothers, and fathers. And he went to a younger tree, and he said, "Take care, only take care. Use what you have to, take what you need." And the teaching that went from this: the earth is alive. The earth is alive, truly. The earth is alive. The people are still here.
Right. I was just about to invite people into the breakout. So do you want to frame the question that you want people to think about? And I'll confirm the time with you.
Yeah. And again, thanks for your patience with technology. Well, this is actually the large group discussion about just kind of what you noticed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just we're going to shift now to, now that you've watched several of the videos, what are some things that surface for you in your small groups or just your thinking? And you can put that in chat, or you can feel free to share it in the open forum here.
You would think I would know how to do certain things, how with the amount of time I have to spend on Zoom, and yet
I think I jinxed it for you, John.
That's all right, no worries. I'm noticing its connection in a couple of ways. So from a cultural standpoint, I'm Jewish, and there's the concept of tikkun olam, which means to offer service and support to people, to heal the world. And spiritually, I'm part of a Unitarian community in which service is a daily part of what we do, and we bringing community around. And it's interesting how that's been, that came to the surface for me a lot, that these are in both sides of where I am spiritually, culturally, and ethnically, revolve around this. that this is part of what we do. And the reason, you know, as somebody who never was part of any kind of a spiritual community, the idea of joining one is because that's where I could feel community developing around. So all of those things resonated with me in a big way. And the fact that the people we support don't necessarily have any of that. You know, I've gotten calls over the years, especially after moving to the Cape, about, you know, helping people to find community within some of the synagogues here on Cape. And when I said that she should experience each one on her own, you know, not saying without a support person, but go to each different synagogue and see where she felt comfortable. What I was told was she has to go to the one that's closest to her. And I'm like, really? She does? Because what if she doesn't like it? You know, I don't like every building or every synagogue or church that I've been to. Some felt good, some don't. You know, shouldn't she have the right to pick what she wants? And it kind of reinforces the idea that as a system, we suck at this.
Thanks for that, Josh. And where's our advocacy and supporting people, right? And walking with them. Yeah, Crystal, why don't we go ahead and go with you?
So just going to say, just to add to that, some of the comments that were made in the groups that I was in was, you know, we certainly recognize that there is a need for people to be in community and sharing their gifts and their talents and all of that. But it's right, we don't all do a good job at that. And sometimes it's because we're afraid to be vulnerable ourselves. We're afraid, or we don't want to accept the gifts that we see in ourselves and just think maybe there's something wrong with those, or those aren't the right ones, or we want different ones. And so if you're in that position, then how do you then step out and help somebody who might need some assistance to recognize those or move forward towards those gifts, and to be able to present them to other people or share them with other people in community? And so that gets us stuck. Or if we are able to recognize that, sometimes it's the ask that doesn't happen because we're afraid we know what the answer, or maybe we're not afraid, we're just assuming what the answer might be, that they might say no or I'm not interested, where we haven't given them the opportunity first to either experience that or say, yes, I want to do that. No, I don't want to explore that. So again, yeah, there's work to be done. And whether that's us as supporters, whether that's as a parent or a family member who just, you know, is stuck in fear for some reason, but I think it's practice that needs to continue, and for us to get better at it, if we're going to help people to totally engage in their communities.
And how are we engaging in our communities to be that bridge? You know, I think it calls out our own work we need to do. Jeannie.
Hi. I'm glad to be part of this discussion. I just think that a lot of the stuff that we talked about is exactly that. Like, how are we as individuals letting ourselves be vulnerable to provide that bet, to let go, to not be the boss, to give them the people we support the opportunity to make those choices and not stand in their way. And I think too, one of the big things that I noticed is that with the community that we witnessed, they're fully integrated as a community. They have amazing opportunities for the community to get together as a whole, and then provide those supports to the persons that are in that community. How do we make our community more broad? I find that our communities, I remember I was just saying a story about in the old days. I remember, like, I'm French Métis. I remember our communities always like doing barn building and home building in a weekend. Like we would all get together and we'd all bring food and we would all help a person that needed help raise their barn or raise their home, and we'd get it done in a weekend. And now, like, there's so much restrictions in community, you can't do things like that anymore. And uh, unless you make that huge effort, and I think people just got lazy. We just got lazy, and we need to open ourselves and provide the better support to the people that by letting them experience our community, but our community to experience them as well.
Yeah.
They need to open up. Our community needs to open up and allow people to experience what community really means.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Jeannie. Heather?
I know we talk a lot about, that not wanting to, we get into this, but we don't want to burden anybody. We don't want to be a burden. We don't want to burden a family member. We don't want to burden, we don't want, we just want to do it ourselves. We don't want anybody else to have to deal with it. So, we take that responsibility on, thinking we're doing somebody a favor. And, and the flip side of that is, I'm in Tennessee, Southern, a lot of folks don't necessarily, when you say culture, people are not really sure, what
Right.
our cultural identity might be. And so it's really hard to identify and then help somebody else identify with it when you don't even know what that might look like for yourself. So we've got a lot of pieces that if we're not sure how to do it, it's really hard to help somebody else navigate that.
This idea of what culture means to us, that's a really big thing, because it's I think we've become disconnected from some of those foundational elements that makes cultural strong, and it can cause for me, at least personally, it can cause me a bit of worry and concern. But then as I engage with the younger generations, I have a lot of hope, because they're seeing culture, they're seeing community in their own way. And it's a valid way to look in how to live. And so kind of have hope and to provide guidance. And so kind of how are we, if we feel like we can do this, how are we mentoring and supporting others? And not in a hierarchical mentoring relationship, but how do we create those opportunities to share our gifts and to welcome the gifts of others? Other people, what stood out for you, or what does this tell you about what you need to go and do now in your life or be in your life? Yeah, Kim.
One of the things I noticed between the story and then the animation is sometimes in the stories there would be a reference to they, where in the animation most things were around just the community as a whole. And so the takeaway is looking at what community, just the broad sense of community and what those contributions are from everyone in the community.
Thank you, Kim. Oh, Claire.
Yeah. I was just thinking, like, one of the first pieces that came up in the videos was the idea of reconnecting with nature and just recognizing that. And so taking that step of being able to, like, where do I need to find peace in and connection with myself so that we can step out and into community. And I think about, like, in our organizations that or in our families, wherever we take up space, of being able to, like, accept that we can have leadership and take on those roles and responsibilities ourselves, and kind of like do this mirroring of, like, how to be in the world. And I think about that in my family and in my work. And I live in a housing co-op as well. And just how, like, recognizing that there's times I have to step back and think about myself, and then times that like I can bring that forward, all that thought, and being able to just kind of shine that light on where my vision is, and then somebody else brings theirs in, and kind of that collaborative and doing it together. And that I saw a lot of that in the videos, and the Coast Salish, of how there's a lot of interwovenness and taking the time to reflect and then coming back and giving, and something else gets built. And I think that that's a way forward for a lot of us.
Great.
Thanks for letting me speak.
Thanks, Clara. Thanks for sharing. I'm going to go out on a limb here, folks. I'm going to do one last video, but I really want you to see this. And I think it's the inclusion. It's the poem by Pat Theu. And we'll let it just speak for itself.
Imagine a time when you were totally absorbed in activity. You lose track of time and find yourself fully present to what is happening. It feels good, right? This is an indicator of doing something you love. Now imagine a group of people enjoying the same activity and stretching themselves beyond what one person or a part of the group could do. That experience can be transcendent and move us to do things we never imagined possible. Exploring shared interests can be life-affirming. It can make life full and worthwhile. For people who haven't had this experience, life may be a very different reality. Perhaps they have experienced life from historical trauma, abuse, or neglect. Maybe they live an isolated life without the skills and abilities to make connections to their neighbors. We know isolation is one of the biggest barriers to people having a full and rewarding life. Being cut off from people and life experiences can often lead to a life that lacks purpose. Every effort to move to something whole and happy takes more energy than living in silence with one's own thoughts. For those of us who have had experiences of being included and supported, it falls on each of us to find ways to make our communities more welcoming and supportive. There are simple ways to involve people in meaningful experiences. Start by holding an open mind and open heart when you encounter others. It may allow you to cut through a person's emotional layers and see the other as whole. Along with the challenges they face, there are strengths, gifts, and capacities to be nurtured and supported. Be a social connector by helping people connect to their interests and with others that share the same. When we encounter difficulties in helping others get connected to community, it could be that the experience is bringing up our own issues of belonging. Be good to yourself. Learn from what you know about your own life experiences and make adjustments. If you have stopped participating in something that interests you, perhaps it's a good time to restart the activity to reconnect to what you love. Remember, you cannot be a help to others if you are not helping yourself. Patrick Theu, a beloved friend of Coast Salish peoples, expresses the importance of inclusion in his poem titled Deeper Waters. We have much in common with the salmon. All our best beginnings were tiny and fragile and built upon the sacrifices of others. Like the salmon, we were all born in different places, different streams, with a power within that pushed us to grow and to search for the deeper waters. All of us are different in shape and color and are seeking deeper water for food and life. The little streams took us to larger rivers where we found ourselves thrashing in the shallows, and on the surface where we are most clumsy and vulnerable, where fear, mistrust, and manipulation tear at the water. There are none of us without scars or parts missing. It is only in the deeper water that we find our companions swimming alongside us. The journey is full of dangers. It requires everything in us to get back to the place where we began. But the deeper water is where the swimming is smoother, where there is room for everyone. We live in a world where social exclusion is increasingly the norm. Let's gather our energies and envision a stronger social fabric. Let's host a wider welcome by recognizing the common interests and gifts that go unreceived when people are socially excluded. If you find yourself inspired, make a small connection in a person's life. Doing so over time could be the spark to make inclusion possible.
Well, that concludes the video portion. I think I finally figured out how to control it. So thank you everybody for your flexibility and adaptability. Jack, Linda, are there anything you'd like to say in conclusion? Any words or thoughts that people have in the time that we have?
Oh, Tim, I was just saying it does my heart so good to see really these values so deep and alive. And I do think the way that you've connected and listened in to this community has lots to teach us. And I really appreciate that you've generated these videos and shared that booklet with us. It's a lovely way to see the 5 valued experiences. And thank you. The poem at the end really knocks it out of the park. That was pretty choked up. That was pretty beautiful.
Thank you.
It may be inappropriate, but it's always a relief to me when things don't go perfectly and we all survive. And that's part of the resilience of community. And it worked. It's fine, Tim. You can breathe. But I think the thing that struck me about watching these again, I think the original intent was to shoot these and to do the graphic values, which I think are brilliant representations of the deep learning and wisdom of a nation. I think it was essentially to strengthen that community. And I'm sure it's been part of strengthening their journey. But it's the way you have done it and the way the stories are told, it's universal. So I deeply appreciate that you and the community are willing to share them. And I hope that people will use them because I think they are beautiful representations of a story, but it's every story. And it's deep wisdom that's been there for a long time, but is available everywhere if we slow down and listen and take time with each other. So thanks for that.
You're
And
welcome.
I wanted to, thanks, Jack. And I wanted to share that on our website, on the Inclusion Ideas That Matter hub page, and then specifically, Tim, on the page created for you, these videos, all of them, the ones people saw today and more, the other stories are here. And we're grateful to have that. Thank you.
And great care was taken in being respectful and in following protocols to develop these videos. So just know that great care was taken to respect people and their contribution to this work. And I just want to make that clear to people.
And it shows.
Good.
Yeah.
There was a few scary moments there.
Oh, but Yeah.
Okay, well, anything else for the, are we
Well,
finished?
we'll send people a link to the recording. We invite you to offer a closing word or two in the chat. And so appreciate your presence and engagement today. So.
And within this community, this little instant electronic community, we have literally been around the world, from New Zealand to Seattle and back. So we've been able to share Coast Salish wisdom and your skills at presenting them and reconnect with each other. So it's been pretty wonderful. Thanks very much, Tim, for being willing to do this.
New Zealand, I just have to say, and looking at the analytics on YouTube, New Zealand really showed up outside of the US. So there's a demographic. So you're showing up in a big way. I just want to call it out. I'm like, oh my gosh, these analytics are really interesting. They help us target where we need to spend our time and energy. So anyway.
I really hope that folks will use this and sink in. Thank you so much, Tim.
You bet.
Really grateful.
And turn on our mics and say and wave goodbye to each other. Thanks so much, Tim. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Nice to see everybody again.
Thanks, Janine. Good to see you too. Take care.
Thank you.
Nice to make new friends and see some old friends.
Yeah. Lovely.